Inventor, painter, engineer, musician.
What do you mean by that?
Leonardo da Vinci shaped the world through ideas centuries ahead of his time.
So I designed weapons.
He filled notebooks with questions.
Why?
Designed machines that were never built.
You filled thousands of pages with notes.
And painted masterpieces that still define art today.
Did you believe in war?
But he never gave an interview.
Welcome to Get to Know.
Until now.
Maestro Leonardo da Vinci. We are in Florence, late 15th century. The air smells of oil paint, wood shavings, and ink. Church bells echo through narrow streets. The Renaissance is blooming, and in a small studio, a man with long hair and piercing eyes sketches flying machines in the margins of his notebooks. Leonardo da Vinci is a painter, sculptor, architect, engineer, anatomist, musician, a list that feels endless. Yet behind that brilliance is a man often misunderstood, sometimes frustrated by his own perfectionism. Today, we'll get to know the man behind The Last Supper and Mona Lisa, beyond the legend. Maestro Leonardo, welcome to Get to Know. It's truly an honor to have you here.
It is my pleasure. A good conversation, it keeps the mind alive, no?
Yes, absolutely. Before we begin, some of our audience might not be aware of your real name. Would you like to share it with us and tell us why everyone calls you Da Vinci?
Many people, they think Da Vinci is my family name, but no. My full name is Leonardo di Serpiero da Vinci. It means Leonardo, the son of Piero, from the town of Vinci. Da Vinci is only the place. So really, I'm Leonardo, just Leonardo. The rest, it's only geography.
That's a good reminder, and a perfect way to start. And how was your small Tuscan town? Were you born there?
No, I was born just outside Vinci, in a little village called Anciano. I spent most of my childhood in Vinci itself, a quiet, simple place of hills, streams, and olive trees. Small, eh? Nothing grand, but for a curious boy, it was full of secrets waiting to be discovered.
You were born in the small Tuscan village of Anciano. Do you remember what kind of child you were in Vinci? What were you doing in your younger years?
I was always curious. Too much, maybe. I spent hours by the streams watching how water moved, always trying to understand the patterns. I took apart little toys to see how they worked, then tried to put them back together. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. I studied insects, observed every stone and shadow. Nature, she was my first teacher, long before any book.
And do you think that connection to nature stayed with you your whole life?
Completely, see. That connection never left me, not for a single day. Everything begins and ends in nature. If you watch a tree long enough, you understand architecture. If you watch a bird, you learn engineering. Water teaches movement, and mountains teach patience. Without observation, there is no art, and no science. Nature, she is like a mother who never stops teaching, always showing you something new if you pay attention.
As you mentioned your mother, what would you say about your parents? Did they encourage your talent, or did you have to make it on your own?
My mother, Caterina, sì. She was supportive, certo. She was a simple woman, a country girl. She had no fine education, no big house, no rich name. But she had a tenderness, see. I did not grow up with her, you know. They took me to my father's house when I was still little, so my memories of her, they come in pieces. Her hands, rough from work. Her voice, low and sweet, like she was always calming something inside herself. Sometimes, you know, I think my curiosity, this hunger to understand the world, it came from her. Because she lived a life full of questions, but with no chance to answer them. I went to visit her from time to time. I tried to stay in touch, as much as I could. My father was the one I grew up with. He saw that I had a mind always running, always curious. When I was 15, he sent me to Firenze to apprentice with Andrea del Verrocchio, one of the greatest masters. My father was a well-connected notary. He knew the right people. In that workshop I learned technique, discipline, and I finally had access to tools and materials my small town could never offer. I felt blessed for the opportunity he gave me, but I am sad that I could not spend my younger years with my mother. She came to live with me when I was in Milano. At her old age, imagine. I tried to look after her the best way I could.
I'm sure you did, and I'm sure she knows too. Changing the subject a little bit, when and why did you move to Milan? How did you decide to leave your beautiful Florence?
I was about 30 years old, I think. You know, during that time, Milano was having better work opportunities, and it was much more focused on engineering and innovations. Firenze is, and always will be, beautiful, but I was having difficulties getting the right commission, and I just wanted a fresh start.
And, if I am right, you worked for many powerful families and rulers during your career, often asked for weapons, machines, fortifications. Yet your heart seems to belong to beauty. Was that difficult to balance the two?
It was a challenge, certo. The world admires beauty, see, but it pays for war. So I designed weapons, fortifications, machines, whatever was asked of me, just to keep my freedom to paint and explore. It was the price of survival. But even in these dark commissions, I always tried to bring harmony and elegance. And some patrons, like Sforza, the Duke of Milano, also asked for beauty, which is how l'ultima cena, the Last Supper, as you call it, was born. Life is full of contrasts. It forces us to balance survival and passion.
If you had to choose, painter, inventor, or thinker, what would you call yourself?
A student, always. Nothing more. I want to remain at the beginning of knowledge. Painter, inventor, engineer, they are all branches of the same tree.
And when you look back on your work, from your paintings to your inventions, is there one creation you feel most proud of?
People expect me to say l'ultima cena or Mona Lisa. Yet my favorite is a drawing of a single human skull, not for its beauty, but for what it taught me, that art and science are one and the same. In that study, while drawing it, I felt I was touching the secret geometry of life itself.
If you don't mind me asking, I'm sure our audience would be curious to know. Did you have a real human skull in your study, or did you draw it from memory? If you had one, how did you get hold of it?
I was sure you were going to ask me that. When I was in Milano working for Sforza, I felt I had to explore something deeper and yet unknown, the human body. I had drawn lifeless bodies before, in Firenze, but I wanted to know how such a complex machine was made, on the inside. I was lucky enough to collaborate with the University of Pavia, near Milano, and some monastery hospitals nearby, as they often received the bodies of executed criminals or those with no family to claim them. This allowed me to study the human body, and I was able to create the drawings you see today.
Would you like to explain briefly to our audience what challenges you encountered during your dissections and drawing? If I recall correctly, you had to work at night, right? Why?
Sì, certo. Working at night was partly for discretion, you know. As I was not a physician, the church would have called it sacrilege, Also, the cooler air of the night slowed decomposition. With candles, the shadows helped reveal structures of muscle and bone. It was difficult, The smell, the urgency, the need to draw quickly. I created hundreds of pages, dreaming of an illustrated anatomy book. But ahimè, I never completed it.
When you weren't working, which seems rare, how did you spend your days?
Not working is also work. I would wander the countryside, sketching clouds or studying how birds turned in flight. I loved music too. In the evenings I played the lute. Often I would invite friends, tell riddles, or debate philosophy. But solitude, that was my truest companion. In silence, ideas come to whisper.
Leonardo, I'd like to touch on something that has fascinated and puzzled people for centuries. Your notebooks, your paintings, even your handwriting have inspired countless theories, even conspiracies. Let's start with one of the most famous, your habit of writing backwards. Why did you do that?
My mirror writing, see. Many have thought it was to hide secrets. The truth is simpler. I am left-handed, you see. Writing from left to right smudged the ink, So I wrote from right to left, pulling the quill instead of pushing it. I was able to write much quicker without smudging the fresh ink. It was practical, not mystical, though, I admit, I enjoyed the confusion it caused.
So, no secret code, just practicality and maybe a bit of mischief.
A little mischief never hurts. Mystery makes people pay attention. When something takes effort to read, the mind engages more deeply. Curiosity wakes up, see?
I bet it took some time to train your brain to do that. I wouldn't be able to write as fast as you did.
Actually, not as long as you think. See, being left-handed helped me develop my skills even in a period of time when left-handed people were considered suspicious and evil, you know?
What do you mean by that?
Well, throughout the Middle Ages and Renaissance, left-handedness was widely considered like that, you know. The Latin word for left, sinister or sinistra in Italian, literally meant unlucky, evil, or suspicious. It was a common belief that the devil and evil spirits were left-handed, and left-handed gestures were used to conjure them. This meant that left-handed individuals, particularly women, were more likely to be eyed with suspicion. Due to this idea, it was a very common practice for left-handed children to be forced to learn to use their right hand in an attempt to correct their perceived deviance. I, myself, was forced to do so. Even my good rival Michelangelo, and many more people of my era. We just had to learn how to write with the right hand, and people would stop looking at you or making comments.
And how did it make you feel?
That was never for me. They tried, you know, when I was a boy, the schoolmaster, even some people in the family. In those days, being left-handed was seen like a mistake you must fix. But every time they pushed the pen in my right hand, I felt, how to say, blocked. The lines were crooked, the letters slow, and inside I felt this frustration, like they were asking me to be someone I am not. It made me feel clumsy, small, almost ashamed. With my own hand, the left hand, I felt free again.
And what would you say to people who believe that some of your paintings hold hidden messages? They say when mirrored, they reveal new shapes or symbols. Did you ever place hidden meanings on purpose?
Every artist hides truth in plain sight, you know. But not all truth is meant to be discovered. I loved symmetry. Nature itself is filled with mirrored forms. Sometimes what you see in a mirror is not another image, but another perspective, As for hidden meanings, the observer often creates more mystery than the painter intended.
Earlier, you mentioned the Last Supper. For centuries, people have speculated about the figure next to Christ. that it might be a woman, perhaps even Mary Magdalene. What do you say to that?
I painted the apostles as I imagined their spirits, not their flesh. The figure beside Christ is John, the youngest, most sensitive. His features are soft because purity has no roughness. But if people see a woman there, perhaps they are not wrong. In divine creation, the masculine and the feminine are not enemies. They are halves of the same circle. To paint Christ surrounded only by men would be to deny balance, you know. So whether that figure is John or Mary, it does not matter. What matters is harmony, eh? Balance exists in all things.
And the hand that holds the knife. Some say it belongs to no one at the table, that it points toward Christ in accusation.
Or perhaps it points toward the viewer, Every painting is a mirror. The question is never who painted the hand, but whose guilt it stirs.
That's a beautiful way to see it. So, even if the theories aren't accurate, they still reveal something about how people want to understand your work.
Indeed. Mystery invites participation, no? When art raises questions, it continues to live. The dead painting is the one that tells you everything.
Before we dive into what's next, I'd love to take a moment to invite you into the heart of this podcast. If you're enjoying these conversations, subscribing to the channel is the simplest and most powerful way to support what we're building here. This isn't a one-way show, it's a shared space. In the comments or community posts, you can suggest future guests, vote on who we invite next, and propose questions to explore. By subscribing, liking, and sharing, you're not just helping the channel grow, you're joining a curious community shaping these conversations together. So if this episode resonated with you, stay with us, join the discussion, and help us build something meaningful together, one conversation at a time. Thank you for listening. And let's talk about your inventions. Some say you hid designs for machines far too advanced for your time, and deliberately obscured them so they wouldn't be misused.
Not all discoveries are meant for the age in which they are born. I feared that men would use flight not to seek heaven, but to deliver death. So yes, I left gaps. I made certain drawings incomplete. A true inventor must sometimes protect humanity from itself.
So even in your brilliance, there was restraint.
Restraint is the companion of wisdom, I think. I have seen men destroy what they do not understand. Better to bury a spark than to watch it set the world ablaze, no?
But wouldn't this slow the progress of technology and humanity itself?
Perhaps, see. However, progress without wisdom is not progress. It is danger wearing a beautiful mask. You see, humanity is always in a hurry, always running forward without asking where it is going. A machine created too early can become a weapon before it becomes a blessing, So I asked myself, is it better to give the world everything I imagine, or only what it is ready to hold without destroying itself? Sometimes slowing the race is the only way to make sure we reach the finish without falling. A tree grows stronger when it grows steady, not fast. Humanity is the same. So no, I did not wish to stop progress. I wished to protect it.
And there's a theory that you use the golden ratio, divine proportions, in every piece of your art, embedding mathematics as if art itself was a code. Was that intentional?
Mathematics is nature's poetry. Numbers are not codes. They are prayers in another language. The spiral of a shell, the curve of a smile, the pattern of a leaf, all sing the same divine number. When I painted, I followed that rhythm not because I sought perfection, but because creation itself whispered it. When I drew l'uomo Vitruviano, the Vitruvian Man, for example. I combined science and art, demonstrating the perfect ratios and proportion in human, using mathematical principles.
And why did you call the man Vitruvian?
Well, I was inspired by Vitruvius's writing. He was a Roman military engineer and architect. His texts gave me inspiration for humanist ideals, as humankind at the center of the universe. He was saying that buildings, especially temples, should be designed with the same inherent symmetry and proportion found in the ideal human body. He described how a well-proportioned human figure could fit perfectly within the perfect geometric shapes of a circle, representing the cosmos, divine perfection, and the square, representing the earth material world. I see the human body as a microcosm of the universe, and I was fascinated by the mathematical underpinnings of the natural world, and I decided to use these geometric principles to study human proportions.
So can I say that you see art and science as inseparable?
Sì, certo. To paint a flower, one must understand its anatomy. To build a bridge, one must feel its balance as though it were alive. To draw a smile, you have to watch people, How joy or doubt pulls them out in different ways. There is no boundary between painting and engineering. Both seek harmony.
Speaking of smiles, in each episode, we select the question people most want answered, and we pass them straight to our guest. Today, Maestro, people would like to know, what were you hoping to capture in Mona Lisa's smile? After all this time, there is still debate about her expression.
La Gioconda, sì. Everyone looks at her and they search for a secret, a message, a trick. But really, my friend, I was trying to paint something much more simple and much more impossible. I wanted to catch that moment, when a feeling is born but not yet finished. See, I was commissioned to paint her, the lady, Lisa Gherardini. She was a real person, But what fascinated me was not her story, it was that smile. I became almost obsessed with it, I spent years studying the muscles of the face, the little tensions, and the breath that moves the lips before the emotion arrives. A smile that is not joy, not sadness, not certainty, not doubt, but all of them together, living in the same breath. When you speak with someone you love, there is a tiny second where their mouth begins to move, their eyes soften, their thoughts change the shape of their face. That moment, that little miracle, is what I try to hold. You see, a smile is not only the lips, it is the muscles, the breath, the memory, the soul. If you look at her quick, you see one emotion. If you look longer, you see another. And the more I worked on her, the more the painting changed. It stopped being only a portrait, only a commission. It became something personal for me, a study of life itself. This is why I never gave it away. I carried her with me, even to France, where it is now, because by then she was not a job. She was an idea I was still trying to understand. She changes because you change. The Mona Lisa, she is not smiling at you. She is smiling at your mind, I did not want to paint a woman. I wanted to paint the dance between the heart and the thought. Something alive, something that cannot be explained. And maybe, that is why she still looks at you after 500 years, like she knows something you do not.
Or maybe it's because you are part of a secret societies, as some says, that you hid forbidden knowledge in your work. What do you say to that?
I belonged only to the society of curiosity, in the circle of silence. If truth is secret, it is only because few care to look for it. I studied anatomy not to defy the church, but to understand the miracle and architecture of creation. The church might have not liked my unorthodox way of pursue knowledge and curiosity, but I had to learn and understand the world around me. I kept all the notebooks with my ideas, very private from indiscreet eyes. For example, by looking at nature, I could see that the Earth was not at the center of the solar system, but I was prohibited to say, as it would contradict the teaching of the Church. If you were to say, maybe my mirror writing was a way to keep certain people away. Knowledge is not heresy. Ignorance is.
Powerful words. I suppose mystery was both a shield and a mirror for you, a way to protect your ideas, but also to invite people to think for themselves. Am I right on saying that?
Precisely. The greatest secret is not what I hid. It is what others have yet to see.
You said once, art is never finished, only abandoned. Do you still believe that?
Completely. Every creation resists its own completion. We stop not because it is perfect, but because the soul becomes too tired and can no longer bear to chase it. Creation asks for courage, yes, but also for surrender. I left many things unfinished. Adoration of the Magi in Firenze, my grand horse for the Sforza family, il cavallo, years of study, drawings, clay models, and still, fate kept the bronze from ever being cast. Even the Battle of Anghiari, which I dreamed would stand as a monument to movement and fury, it faded before its time.
And do you consider them as failure?
Absolutely not. They are reminders that the idea lives beyond the hands that shape it. Sometimes a creation must remain open, incomplete, so it can continue breathing in the minds of others. Art does not end when the artist stops. It ends only when people cease to wonder about it.
What was the hardest lesson life taught you?
That understanding does not always bring peace. The more one sees, the more one feels the vastness of what remains unseen.
During this conversation, you speak of balance, of harmony between opposites, beauty and reason, art and science. What would you tell someone today who feels lost, uninspired, or cannot see the right path for them?
I would say, slow down. Sit with the word, not above it. Let your eyes learn again to notice the things you used to ignore. Look closer, because inspiration does not shout, it whispers. And if you never give it silence, you will never hear it. The world hides miracles in plain sight, you know. A shadow on a wall, a ripple in a pond. These are gateways. Curiosity is the antidote to despair. Ask questions, even of silence, especially of silence. And remember, feeling lost is not a failure. It is simply the first step of finding a new path. In my life, every breakthrough began with confusion, and then with the courage to look a little deeper.
Before we end, Maestro, one final question. If you could offer one piece of advice to those who wish to create, whether a painting, a machine, or a life they're proud of, what would it be?
Work with love, not ambition. Ambition exhausts, it tires the mind and makes the hand heavy. But love renews. Even on difficult days, it gives you a quiet strength, a reason to keep going. Do not chase glory or perfection for its own sake. Perfection is a compass, see, but not a destination. Use it to guide your steps, but do not punish yourself when your hand cannot reach what your imagination sees. Seek perfection, but forgive your humanity. And remember, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Not because simple things are easy, no, but because they require clarity of thought and purity of intention. Anyone can complicate a work. Only a true creator can remove the unnecessary and let the essential shine. So, whether you paint a face, design a machine, or build a life, choose love over ambition. choose clarity over noise, and choose the path that allows your spirit to breathe. Because all great works begin inside, long before they appear in the world.
We have a final tradition on this podcast where our guest leaves behind an invisible object, something they once used in life, carrying a piece of their spirit into time. Leonardo, what object do you leave for us?
Ooh, nice. I think I leave an invisible wooden stylus. Its tip worn flat from outlining ideas that never reached their final form. May it remind those who follow that every great creation begins with a simple mark and the courage to make it.
Maestro Leonardo da Vinci, thank you for being here with us today. Your words, your curiosity, your way of seeing the world, even after 5 centuries, still feel incredibly alive. Speaking with you has been a reminder that creativity is not just a skill, but a way of observing, questioning, and feeling deeply connected to the world around us. Grazie, Maestro, for the art, the inventions, the ideas, and the gentle wisdom you shared with us today.
I am deeply grateful for this opportunity to share my thoughts. Every conversation that invites us to reflect and appreciate the world around us is a true gift. Thank you for welcoming me, for your thoughtful questions, and for creating such a pleasant space for discussion. And to the audience, I thank you for your attention and your kindness in joining us. It has been an honor to be here.
Leonardo da Vinci lived more than 500 years ago, yet his words feel made for us. He reminds us that curiosity is sacred, that creation and discovery are not opposites, but parts of the same heartbeat. He looked at clouds and saw the architecture of flight. He drew machines that wouldn't exist for centuries. And he painted faces that seemed to think, to breathe. But beyond the legend, there was a man, thoughtful, restless, humble before nature. He reminds us that knowledge without wonder is empty, and that beauty, when understood, becomes truth. Perhaps we don't need to be geniuses to follow his path. We only need to look longer, to ask why, and to listen, to the world, to others, to ourselves. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time with Get to Know. If you enjoyed meeting Leonardo da Vinci today, subscribe to the show and stay tuned, because in future episodes, we'll sit down with more voices who changed the story of humanity. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and never stop learning from the world around you. I'm your host, and this is Get to Know.
Thank you for watching.